Recently, the Obama administration has called the surge of unaccompanied minors crossing the U.S.-Mexico border alarming, even going as far as saying that the situation is a, quote, urgent humanitarian issue, and rightfully so. See, according to U.S. Customs and Border Patrol, nearly 47,000 children have been arrested while crossing into the U.S. from Mexico this year alone. That's right, 47,000 minors under the age of 18, and that's a 92% increase from last year. And now a new controversy has arisen over the detention of these children once they're apprehended. At least 1,000 children were sent to an extremely ill-equipped warehouse in Arizona. And while media access to the facility has been limited, Think Progress reports that, quote, the children, including pregnant teenagers and a 1-year-old with diarrhea, are sleeping in plastic containers and haven't showered in 10 days, according to Honduras counsel to the U.S., who visited the site. What's worse is that Obama's domestic policy director, Cecilia Munoz, has made it clear that these children don't qualify for any protective legal status. So while the government may work to remedy the deplorable conditions at these little warehouses, little to nothing is being done to ensure the safety of these kids. What's heartbreaking is that these children are viewed as random migrants when really they should be considered refugees. See, nearly 3/4 of them originate from Guatemala, El Salvador, and Honduras, an area known as the Northern Triangle, which is among the most dangerous and violent places in the world. Of course, much of the violence plaguing these countries are the battlefields where America wages its failed war on drugs. By the U.S. government's own estimates, approximately 95% of all cocaine leaving South America for the U.S. travels through the Northern Triangle and onward through Mexico. And under the leadership of larger Mexican drug cartels, vast swaths of land in Guatemala, El Salvador, and Honduras are dominated by deadly guerrilla forces. And perhaps most tragically is that these Central American governments are largely responsible for the expansion of narco-trafficking economies, as these groups have been able to infiltrate government institutions. Most significantly, police carry out executions in exchange for financial benefit. All the while, the U.S. government just keeps throwing more money at the regimes with no accountability over where the funds end up. In fact, an AP investigation from last year found that despite a temporary suspension of U.S. foreign aid to Honduras, nearly $30 million in U.S. taxpayer money was aiding the forces of Director General Juan Carlos Bonilla, a man linked to at least 3 extrajudicial killings and 11 other murders. The continued financial support for these types of governments is creating an economic and social crisis for Central American children, the vast majority of which are trying to escape from a situation where brutality and violence is an ever-present force in their lives from the day that they're born. Further evidence of this is found in a recent report by the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees, which shows that 58% of the 400 migrant youth fleeing to the U.S. that the agency interviewed had suffered, been threatened, or feared serious harm. According to Wendy Young, Executive Director of Kids in Need of Defense, this is becoming less like an immigration issue and more like a refugee issue, because this really is a forced migration. These are not kids choosing voluntarily to leave. This is perhaps the most important thing to note, the fact that almost all the children are from a region known as the murder capital of the world. Yet when they manage to reach the U.S., the conditions they find here could very well be comparable to what they left behind, held against their will at a makeshift warehouse in Arizona. So while this country continues to throw millions of dollars to fund drug wars in the name of humanitarianism, it's long past due to fix the humanitarian crisis right on our doorstep.